first, the Honorable John Barrow, who represents Georgia's 12th Congressional District and includes the Imperial Sugar refinery. John and I are co-sponsors of H.R. 5522, the subject of this hearing this morning. We welcome you to the committee, and we welcome and thank you for the cooperation with the committee staff and the help that your district office gave us as we sent staff down to the site of this accident.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for calling this hearing on H.R. 5522, the Combustible Dust Explosion and Fire Prevention Act of 2008. Just over a month ago, on February 7th, the Imperial Sugar refinery in Port Wentworth, just outside my home of Savannah, was destroyed by a massive explosion. The explosion killed 12 people, maimed dozens more, and shut down the economic engine that drove an entire community. I have visited with the families of the dead and the dying. I've attended the meetings. I've attended the memorial services. And the question I hear over and over again is why? Why did this happen? And what can we do to prevent this from happening again? Turns out that the cause is something that most folks don't even know about at all, don't know is the least bit dangerous at all, and that's too much sugar dust all over the place. Also turns out there are lots and lots of other industrial dust that can cause massive explosions like this, and have been causing massive explosions like this for as long as manufacturing plants have been generating dust on an industrial scale. What we've learned in my community since this disaster hit us is that the experts in the field have known about this problem for decades. There have been voluntary standards that effectively deal with this problem, but not enough people know about the problem, much less the solutions, and even those who know about the solutions aren't required to adopt them. We've also learned that the only standards that are mandatory really aren't designed with this problem in mind, and they aren't working. And so we have good standards that are not mandatory and inadequate standards that are mandatory. So here we are again, and once again the cry goes up to fix this problem that's been around for so long, only this time we're not going to forget about what happened. We're not going to stop until we do what we can to cut down this risk as much as possible. Now, up until now, the argument's been between those who say we shouldn't go too fast in developing a national standard and those who argue that we're going too slow. There are those who argue that the costs of a comprehensive solution outweigh the benefits. We've even had some people argue that we should go slow in adopting a national standard because we run the risk of encouraging employers to take our jobs to some other country where they don't care as much about worker safety as we do. I disagree. I say if we can prevent just one of these disasters from happening, if we can prevent just one family from going through what the families at Imperial Sugar are going through, it'd be worth it. Meanwhile, something's happened that sheds a whole new light on the debate and gives us a whole new reason for adopting a national standard and doing so as quickly as we can. Because Georgia isn't waiting for Congress to act. The Georgia Insurance Commissioner, John Oxendine, has exercised his authority under Georgia law to adopt the voluntary standards promulgated by the people who know best how to prevent these disasters from happening, the NFPA, and to make those standards mandatory. But in Georgia. Now, I commend him for his prompt action, but I want to emphasize that this action gives us a new and compelling reason for national action, because it's no longer an issue about losing jobs to foreign markets where they don't care about worker safety as much as we do. We now have to worry about Americans losing jobs to other Americans just because they happen to live in states where they haven't learned the lessons of Imperial Sugar yet. Unsafe competition is unfair competition, and the specter of unsafe competition from abroad is bad enough, but the reality of unsafe competition right here at home is even worse. If we really want to do what we can to prevent this from happening, we need to act, and we need to act now. The bill that Chairman Miller and I have introduced essentially does two major things. First, it directs OSHA to issue a rule within 90 days which would, as a general matter, require manufacturers to comply with the NFPA standards that right now are purely voluntary. Basic safety would no longer be an employer option, and it would no longer be a local option. It would be a common obligation and a common right. Second, our bill would give OSHA the opportunity to modify or revise the rule before it becomes final if they think they can make it better. But it shifts to OSHA the burden of showing how those standards can be made better, and we don't leave workers at risk for as long as that can take. I commend the members of this committee, especially Chairman Miller and Congresswoman Woolsey, for trying to do something about this for a long time. The time to act is now. We owe it to the victims of last month's tragedy and to all the other victims before that to do what we can to prevent this sort of thing from ever happening again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.